first time the signal arrived, no one believed it. It slipped into the deep space network at 2:09 a.m. UTC, soft as a breath, a thin thread of sound riding the background noise like a secret. On the night shift at Mission Control, only 4 people were watching. Screens dim, coffee cold, lights low enough to make the stars on the live feeds feel closer. A junior analyst named Noor noticed it first. Her cursor paused over a skinny spike in the spectrum, too neat to be random and too patient to be a glitch. She marked it and listened just to be sure. It came again 11 minutes later. The same narrow tone, the same shy rise and fall, as if the signal had learned to knock. Noor pulled off her headset and said the quiet words that change rooms. "I think we have something." 2 engineers slid over on their chairs. Screens multiplied, graphs opened, filters dropped, and the room's silence took on shape. One of them, a veteran named Raj, squinted and leaned forward. "If that is noise, I'll eat my badge," he said, not joking. They tried to trace it and found nothing familiar. Not Mars, not a satellite bounce, not weather, not Earth. The origin tag on the map glowed with a small white dot beyond the moon's near rim. In the region that always faced away from Earth, the part we call the far side, Noor swallowed. "It's coming from the dark side, sir," she said, using the wrong phrase and not caring. Raj nodded once and picked up the red phone, the one that woke people who should never be asleep. The signal arrived a 3rd time on schedule and a 4th, like a heartbeat that had finally decided to be heard. By dawn, Mission Control had changed shape. People appeared who do not wear headsets. People with plain suits and tired faces and the kind of posture that says they remember other nights like this. They stood in a small circle around a single audio window, listening to a sound that should not exist. It was not a voice, not yet, but it was not static either. It had purpose, it had edges, it had the feeling of a hand on glass. At 9 a.m. they called in a linguist, a quiet woman named Dr. Lina Iqbal, who hated cameras and loved patterns. She listened once, twice, and then asked for the raw feed. No filters, no smoothing, just the ugly truth. She closed her eyes and hummed the shape of it. Like a person learning a song without words, then she asked the room, "What repeats every 11 minutes out there?" Someone said orbits. Someone said thermal cycling. Someone said nothing repeats that cleanly unless it wants to. Dr. Iqbal nodded and wrote 3 symbols on a legal pad. Not letters, not numbers, just anchors to hold a thought. She looked up. This is not language yet, it's location. It's pointing. They aimed a lunar relay toward the coordinates, which is to say they pointed curiosity at the one place on the moon that curiosity has the least right to reach. On the big screen, the far side appeared as a gray bowl of old scars and deep shadows, beautiful and unfriendly. The relay pinged, waited, pinged again, and got back a polite kind of silence. The kind that says someone is listening and choosing not to speak. At 11 past noon, the signal arrived again, and for the first time it changed. A second tone slid beneath the first, a low hum that swelled and then bent like metal cooling, like breath on glass. Raj's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Modulation," he whispered, and the word made the room lean in. Noor logged the exact times, her handwriting small and careful, as if the numbers might bruise. On her pad she wrote, "If it is a knock, what is the door?" They sent a request up the chain for a fast redirect of an old lunar mapper, a tired machine with good eyes and a bad knee. The request came back approved faster than requests usually do, which told everyone in the room what they already felt, that this was not a drill. The mapper's camera turned, its long stare settling over a stretch of dust that had not changed shape since our ancestors learned the word moon. For 3 minutes, nothing on the screens moved, except the slow slide of sunlight across a ridge like a hand making a bed. Then the picture shifted, not because the ground moved, but because the camera stuttered, a single frame torn like paper. When the feed cleared, the room exhaled, and then no one breathed at all. Half buried at the coordinates was a shape that did not belong. It was not a rock, not a shadow, not a trick of light. It was a curve too perfect for geology, a smooth arc of black that drank sunlight and gave none back. No seams, no dust clinging to it, no scars from micrometeorites. As if the moon itself refused to touch it, someone whispered, "How long has that been there?" And no one answered. The mapper tried radar, and for the first time in its long life, it got shy. The return came back blank. Not empty, blank like a form someone forgot to print. Dr. Iqbal leaned closer to the audio. "It's not speaking to us," she said softly. "It's inviting us to look." Raj nodded once. Things that invite you to look tend to already be looking, he said, and the room understood. At 1600 hours, the signal stopped. The absence was louder than the sound had been. People looked at their watches as if time might explain itself. Then, 11 minutes later, it returned, but different. The tone now rose and fell in 3 steps, small, smaller, smallest. Like a hand tapping 3 times on a table, Dr. Iqbal wrote 3 dots on her pad. Then a line below them. She did not say the word code. But the word code said itself in every mind there. They tried not to say the other words that had been waiting in the corners. Alien, contact, artifact. Instead they said safer words. Structure, origin, non-terrestrial, unknown. Noor recorded the room tone, the breathing, the way people looked at the floor when they spoke. Details you remember only on nights that will matter later. Near midnight, after 20 cycles, the signal bent again. This time there was a soft noise under the tone. A human thing. A shape of air inside a chest. Breathing, Noor said, before she could stop herself. The room went still in the way a room does when everyone agrees to hear the same impossible thing. Once, twice, 3 breaths, then a thin scrape like fabric against a microphone. And then, almost lost in the hiss, a single word, home. The audio tech rewound, filtered, played it again, home. Not a language puzzle, not a number, not a trick of harmonics. An English word made by a human mouth, or by something that wanted to sound like one. Dr. Iqbal did not sit down. She leaned both hands on the console and spoke very gently. "Whoever sent that word just changed who we are," she said. Raj did not look away from the screen where the black ark sat in its cradle of dust. Patient as a tomb, he said the only thing that made sense to say, the only thing that ever does when the sky answers back, send another eye. Outside the windows of mission control, the world kept being the world. Clouds moved, cars honked far away. Someone laughed in a hallway as if laughter were not an act of faith. But inside the room, the map of the moon felt closer than the city beyond the glass. At 2:09 a.m., exactly 24 hours after the first knock, the signal came again. No one called it a knock anymore. No one called it noise. Everyone who heard it felt the same small truth unfold in their chest like a paper star. Something on the far side of the moon knew we were listening, and wanted us to keep listening, and in a locked archive 10 floors below, a folder with a faded stamp and a number no one says aloud slid an inch closer to the light. On its tab, in thick black pen, were 2 words from another year, another country, another kind of night, Apollo 18. They called it the silent zone because nothing came back from it. Every signal sent toward those coordinates disappeared. Not scattered, not jammed, just gone, swallowed. NASA engineers checked every frequency twice. No error, no equipment fault, no solar interference, only stillness. The redirected lunar probe, nicknamed Artemis 3B, was small, patient, and loyal. It had circled the moon 100 times before without a single failure. When its cameras pointed at the black curve half buried in dust, the feed stayed normal for 5 seconds, then the first camera froze. A perfect still frame of gray soil and shadow? Raj leaned forward, his knuckles white on the console. "Try the secondary optics," he said. Noor typed fast, sending the command. The second camera switched on. Showed the same curve, smooth, endless. Then the screen filled with white, not light, but absence. Overexposure without brightness. A blindness, telemetry stuttered, voltage dropped. The probe's gyros hiccuped once and held still. Dr. Iqbal whispered, "It doesn't like being watched." The words felt strange in the cold logic of mission control, but no one corrected her. For 1 long minute, the screen stayed blank. Then the probe sent a single frame. The black curve had changed. Now it was open. The dust around it floated higher, grains rising in a slow spiral like ash in reversed gravity. "Is that air?" Noor asked. Raj shook his head. "There's no air there." Yet the dust kept lifting, as if something inside the curve was breathing out. The probe's instruments started naming numbers that meant nothing. Negative light, inverted mass, 0 distance but infinite echo. The kind of data that turns good scientists quiet. At mission control, backup recorders flickered. Audio channels filled with low hum, deeper than sound. The word home echoed faintly inside the static again. Stretched until it became a sigh, Dr. Iqbal turned to Raj, her voice thin. "It's repeating itself." He didn't answer. He was watching the temperature feed. The probe's surface sensors read 147 degrees C, then jumped to 22 degrees, warm as human skin. Then the heartbeat sound began. One steady thump every 11 seconds, matching the signal's rhythm. Nor whispered, "That's impossible." The probe's microphone, not meant for sound, still caught the faint vibration. A pulse, slow and patient, coming from inside the object, like something sleeping just beneath metal. "Pull it back," Raj ordered, but the command lagged. Every relay that carried it turned silent as it crossed the edge of the zone. The probe ignored them, still drifting closer. Its shadow merged with the black curve until they were one. Then all the readings dropped to 0. The last image came through, a blur of gray light, a hint of a reflection, and for a single frame, before the feed cut, Noor saw it. A handprint on the inside of the probe's camera lens. Human-shaped, upside down, pressed from the wrong side of the glass. The line went dead, no signal, no heartbeat, no echo, only silence again. The same clean, polite silence that started this all. Mission Control sat in the glow of dead monitors. The hum of machines sounded louder than breath. Dr. Iqbal closed her notebook and said quietly, "It didn't fail. It entered." Noor stared at the empty screen where the probe's ID still blinked. Her reflection looked pale in the dark glass. For a moment she thought she saw another reflection behind her, a shadow leaning closer. When she turned, there was only the empty room. Somewhere on the far side of the moon, the black curve stopped moving. Dust settled again, covering its edges, but the signal didn't vanish. It changed pitch, softer now, almost gentle, repeating every 11 minutes, calling for attention, not from NASA, but from something listening deeper beneath the surface. And in a small sub-basement archive, the old Apollo 18 folder blinked green for the first time in 50 years. By the second night, the signal wasn't coming from one place anymore. Half of it still pulsed from the far side of the moon. The other half echoed from something new, something moving. At first they thought it was reflection, a bounce between satellites. But the data didn't fit. The new source had mass, trajectory, and direction. It was coming home. NASA called it Object Echo, a harmless name to make a terrifying truth sound technical. It was small, no bigger than a capsule, but it was moving fast. Too fast for something without propulsion, like it had been waiting a long time to start falling. Raj watched the readings climb, velocity increasing, angle narrowing.
"Something's guiding it," he said. Lena didn't answer.
She was looking at the audio feed. The breathing they thought was static. It had changed. It was now steady, calm, measured. Like whoever was on the other end had started to relax at 04:12 a.m. The Pentagon was briefed by 06 hour. NASA's live feeds to the public were quietly under maintenance. The official explanation, lunar comms upgrade. But inside Mission Control, everyone knew the truth. Something had detached from the moon, and it was headed directly toward Earth. Noor sat at her console, her hands trembling slightly. She zoomed in on the object's radar shadow. It wasn't smooth like debris, it had edges, panels, joints. Even what looked like insignia markings. Her stomach tightened. "Sir, it's metallic," she whispered. Raj leaned closer, squinting. For a brief second, the radar image sharpened. A curve of white paint appeared on the hull. Letters faded but visible. AP-18. No one spoke for a full minute. Only the steady beep of the tracking system filled the silence. Finally, Raj said, "That's not possible." Lena's voice came quiet. "But it's here." The object entered Earth orbit 8 hours later. Its path aligned almost perfectly with the re-entry corridor for Apollo-era missions. The same corridor NASA used 50 years ago. The math was too exact to be luck. Someone eyed or something and had planned this. The room filled with tension thick enough to touch. One by one, screens around the room flickered and dimmed. Telemetry feeds cut to black. A new line of text scrolled across the main console. Noor gasped. The words appeared like handwriting across the data stream. "Permission to land," the director barked. "Kill the link." Raj slammed the keys, disconnecting main telemetry. But the message stayed, repeating again and again. "Permission to land." The room fell into chaos. Phones rang, security badges turned red, access locked. Everyone knew this wasn't a malfunction anymore. Something was speaking through the system, through their equipment, their network, their world outside. The sky above the Pacific glowed faint orange for a few seconds. No impact alerts triggered, no seismic wave, no debris trail. Just a faint hum picked up by ocean buoys in the same rhythm as the signal. 3 beats, pause, 3 beats, pause. A heartbeat. Hours later, an unmarked aircraft carrier changed course toward an empty patch of ocean. Inside NASA, no one spoke about it again. But Raj noticed a new folder appear on his restricted terminal. It had no label, no metadata, just a timestamp 0709 AM. The same moment the ocean hum had stopped. He clicked it, one file, one line of text, recovery complete. One occupant, breathing. Lena looked over his shoulder, her voice barely a whisper. If they came back, she said. Then what stayed behind? The answer came 11 minutes later. The moon signal returned, louder than before. Same coordinates, same tone. But now the word wasn't home, it was open, and this time, it wasn't a recording, it was live. The recovery ship drifted in the Pacific under a moonless sky. Its radar screens were dark, running silent the way orders demanded. Only the searchlights moved, slicing the black water into pieces of silver. At 03:17 AM, the crew spotted it. A small capsule rocking gently between waves, paint peeled, surface burned but intact. The letters AP-18 were faint yet visible. One diver whispered through his radio, "How is that even here?" The crane pulled it aboard with slow respect. The hull hissed as seawater touched the hot metal. No cracks, no dents. Only the sound of trapped air escaping like a sigh. The command officer, Major Cole, ordered everyone back. "Wait for radiation sweep," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. They were all staring at the same thing. The window on the capsule's side, inside fogged glass, a shadow moved. When they opened the hatch, steam rolled out. The smell was sharp, metallic, old. Inside were 3 seats, 2 were empty, straps cut clean. The third held a figure in a suit older than anyone on the deck. White, cracked, marked with NASA's faded emblem. Major Cole stepped closer. The helmet visor reflected the floodlights, hiding the face. He raised a gloved hand and tapped the glass once. The head turned slowly toward him. Every man on deck froze. Through the fogged visor, 2 eyes blinked. "Get medical," Cole said. But the words came out wrong, uncertain. When they unlatched the helmet, it came off easily. The face beneath was pale. Perfect, too perfect. Not wrinkled, not aged. It looked human, but like a photo come to life, each feature smooth, almost remembered. As if someone had built it from memory and gotten close but not right. The medic placed a hand on the man's wrist, a pulse. Slow, strong, steady. The figure breathed once, lips moving without sound. No one could read the word. Cole leaned closer. "Say that again," he whispered. The lips formed it slower this time. Home back on the mainland, NASA received confirmation. Object Echo recovered, 1 occupant alive. Raj read the report 3 times. Lena stood beside him, whispering the numbers on the medical telemetry. Oxygen 97, heart rate 43, temperature 37. Perfectly human, too human. They asked for a DNA scan. The results arrived hours later. Sealed under classification, Raj broke the rule and looked anyway. He stared for a long time before saying anything. "It's Armstrong," he said quietly. Noor frowned. "Neil Armstrong's DNA," Raj nodded. "Matched 99.8%. Silence fell over the lab. No one laughed, no one argued. Lena said the only thing left to say, "Then who's buried in Ohio?" In the isolation room, the figure sat upright now. Monitors beeped soft and slow. It turned its head toward the observation glass. Its eyes followed the people outside with quiet interest. Then, with slow precision, it smiled, not a warm smile, but one of recognition. As if it remembered every face watching it. The intercom crackled. A technician swore under his breath. Across every monitor, text began to appear. Same font, same rhythm. Permission granted. Outside, the sky shivered with static for 11 seconds. The moon signal vanished, but the hum in the isolation room grew louder. Raj turned toward the glass, whispering, "It's not a man." Lena's voice trembled. "No," she said, "it's what the moon kept when the man left." They moved the capsule occupant to a sealed room beneath Houston. No windows, no clocks, just filtered air and cameras that never blinked. They called it debrief, but everyone knew it was interrogation. Raj and Lena watched through glass as the figure sat on the metal chair. It looked calm, eyes half closed, breathing slow. A scientist placed a recorder on the table. Red light blinking. "State your name," the man said. The figure lifted its head, lips moving with care. "Armstrong," it said. The voice exact, calm, confident. The sound carried weight, not a copy, but memory. Lena felt the skin on her arms tighten. "Ask the year," she whispered. The scientist obeyed. "What year is it?" The figure smiled faintly. 1969. Raj leaned toward the glass.
He thinks he never left the moon. The man in the suit began to list mission logs.
Coordinates, air readings, every number correct, until he said something that froze the room. Surface door opened at 0531. Contact initiated, the scientist asked. Contact with what? The figure paused. Eyes unfocused. With them, it said, and the lights flickered. Data screens behind the glass blinked white. Heart rate 0, oxygen 0. But the body still sat upright. Lena whispered, "It's mimicking life, not living it." Raj typed quickly, sending emergency data dumps to backup servers. Half of them crashed. Files rewriting themselves with a single word. Continue. The figure turned its head toward the observation window. Its eyes no longer reflecting light, only absorbing it. "You shouldn't have listened," it said softly. Then smiled again, wider this time, too wide. Permission was granted. The power cut. Emergency lights flashed red across the corridor. Technicians shouted, screens rebooted. But all feeds showed the same image, the black curve on the moon glowing faintly. When power returned, the chair in the debrief room was empty. The restraints lay open, unbroken. The door still locked from the outside on the wall behind the chair. Someone, or something, had traced 3 perfect circles in soot, the same pattern as the signal's 3-beat pulse. Raj ran diagnostics on every system. Each file connected to the case had been renamed. From Apollo 18 to open, Lena sat down, trembling. "He never came back," she said. "He just borrowed the way back." Hours later, satellite channels picked up a second signal. This one from low Earth orbit, moving faster than any craft should. It carried the same tone, the same rhythm, but now a human voice layered beneath it. Raj turned the volume up. Through static and distortion, the words became clear. "Copy complete, module detached, mission expanding," Lena whispered. Expanding to where? Raj didn't answer. He was staring at the map as one by one new signals appeared. Small, faint, orbiting patterns forming around Earth like dust around a flame. In the deep recording room, the black suit director finally spoke. "Seal this under Project Silence," he said. "Tell the world it was debris." No one argued. Outside, the sky looked the same. The moon hung quiet and pale, pretending to sleep but every 11 minutes. Across frequencies no one dared monitor anymore. The same tone whispered through static. Slow, steady, patient. Continue. 2 days after the debrief incident, NASA went dark. Public feeds were offline, media channels silent. Even the moon's live trackers from civilian telescopes stopped updating. The official explanation was system recalibration. But every engineer who had seen the recordings knew better. Raj sat alone in mission control. Most of the lights were off. Only the main monitor glowed with the slow rhythm of the repeating signal. Every 11 minutes, a pulse, a tone, a breath. He had heard it so often that his heartbeat followed it now. He didn't want to listen anymore, but the silence felt worse. Lena entered quietly, holding a sealed folder. Her hands trembled just enough to make the papers rattle. "They finally declassified part of Apollo 18, she said. Raj looked up, tired, hollow. What did they find? She placed the folder on the console and opened it. Inside were blurred photos, an old lunar lander, the same arc of black metal in one frame, a reflection on the visor of an astronaut's helmet. Not a human shape, not quite. Something standing too straight, too still, watching. "The crew made contact," Lena said softly. "They transmitted data for 3 hours before the line went dead." She turned another page, showing a typed transcript. It wasn't a report. It was a conversation. The words were broken, incomplete, but clear enough. "They are not from here. They were buried to listen. The moon is not what we think." Raj felt cold spread through his chest. "Buried to listen," he repeated. Lena nodded. "The moon isn't just a satellite, it's a recording." The last entry on the page was a single word typed in capitals. "Copy." Before he could speak, the room lights dimmed. The monitor screens flickered white, then black, then white again. A message scrolled across them. Slow, deliberate, archive reactivated. The old Apollo 18 folder opened by itself. A video began to play, grainy, shaky from inside a lunar module. 3 astronauts sat in the cramped cabin, breathing hard, whispering to one another. A voice said, "Door's moving, we didn't touch it." Then the camera tilted toward the airlock. Behind the thick glass, a black shape pressed against the window. It looked almost human. It tilted its head once, then spoke. But the voice wasn't from outside. It came from the recorder itself. Copy complete. The video ended. The main monitor went dark. Raj sat frozen, Lena whispered. That wasn't a warning. It was an announcement. Alarms flashed suddenly across the board, satellite feeds lit up. Hundreds of new pings from orbit, unidentified signals, matching the same frequency as the lunar transmission. They weren't coming from the moon anymore. They were coming from above it. Moving, multiplying, Raj stared at the screen. Each new dot blinked like a heartbeat, forming rings around Earth. Not invasion, he said quietly. Replication, Lena's voice cracked. Copies of what? He didn't answer. He already knew. The radio on the desk came alive. A faint voice pushed through static, familiar, calm. Houston, it said. Signal received. Raj turned slowly toward the sound. It was his own voice, same tone, same rhythm, same breath. He reached for the switch, but the sound came again. This time, a second voice joined it. Lena's, mission expanding. The lights in mission control dimmed once more. The hum from the speakers deepened until it felt like the room itself was breathing. Every monitor glowed with a single message. We were never gone, Raj whispered. Then who's still here? The power died. In the distance, thunder rolled without clouds. The moon outside looked brighter than it ever had before. Too bright, too alive, and somewhere beneath its surface, a door that had once been silent opened again. The probe had gone silent, but silence never lasts at NASA. By dawn, the engineers were already scraping through the raw data, byte by byte. They found fragments hidden in the memory buffer, bits of sound too deliberate to be noise. When Noor pressed play, the speakers filled with low static that seemed to breathe. Not random, not empty, but alive. Raj leaned forward. Run a clean pass, he said. She filtered it once, twice. The hiss sharpened into rhythm. A faint pulse, 3 beats, then pause, 3 beats again. Lena Iqbal closed her eyes, counting under her breath. It's the same cadence as the signal, she whispered. But slower. The sound shifted like a microphone brushing against fabric. Then came a faint scrape, something moving against metal. And beneath it, a voice, soft, cracked, tired. At first, no one believed it was a voice, but when Noor replayed the fragment, the room froze. Houston, the voice said, almost swallowed by static. Signal received. Raj's mouth went dry. Play that again. They listened 5 times, each repetition worse for the nerves. The same slow, strained syllables. Houston, signal received, Lena whispered. It's human. The waveform showed lungs, breath, throat, the unmistakable pattern of a real voice. But the metadata stamped an impossible origin. Lunar far side, Saralat 177 long, the same place where the probe had vanished. Raj opened the old archives, the ones labeled Apollo. He scrolled through mission audio, voices from another century. Then he stopped, listening to a clip from a file dated 1973, a canceled flight that had never existed on paper. Apollo 18. The voice on that tape matched perfectly. Same tone, same breath, same tiny scar of static after the word Houston, Noor whispered. But Apollo 18 never flew. Lena looked at the waveform again. Maybe it never came back. The recording continued. The voice growing weaker, words tangled in interference. Repeat. Oxygen low. Not alone. Door opened. Then only breathing, slow and rhythmic, then nothing. Raj pressed his palms together. This is impossible, Lena answered softly. Impossible usually means we're too late to understand. They sent the clip through analysis. Vocal match. Atmospheric model. Transmission decay. Every test said the same thing. The voice had been recorded less than 24 hours ago. Not 50 years, not archived live. NASA's director arrived before sunrise. No coffee, no greetings. He listened once and said, "Lock this room." Security badges went red. Phones collected, windows covered, outside. The sun rose over Houston like any other morning. Inside, the walls felt closer. Raj asked, "Do we tell the Pentagon?" The director shook his head. "We finished listening first." He nodded to Noor. "Play the rest." The second half began with silence. Then the same breath, but now the voice had changed and deeper, layered as if 2 people spoke together. "Don't send anyone," it said. "Already open." The words repeated twice. Softer each time Lena's pen fell from her hand. Raj whispered, "Already open? What's open?" Then the audio ended with a single tone, long and flat. The same tone that had started the whole story. The one that first appeared on Noor's screen. Only now it wasn't a tone, it was a door closing. Outside the recording booth, the hallway lights flickered once. In the deep space feed monitor, the signal returned. Same timing, same pulse, but this time a second tone echoed behind it. Like another transmitter had joined the call, answering from closer, much closer, Doctor. Iqbal looked at the waveform, her face pale. It's not just from the moon anymore, she said. Raj stared at the new signal ID blinking on the screen. Origin, Earth orbit,